is the government's contempt and disdain to the people of the country. The Prime Minister, instead of being here on the opening of the Parliament, he is abroad. He likes welcoming and grand show and honors and this and that, whereas he should be in the Parliament to honor the members who have been elected and who want to hear the policy approach to one of the greatest threats from the United States to our economy and to our overall foreign policy, including BRICS for that matter. Coherent approach, consistent approach on the part of the government to respond to the threat, because we were under the impression that America is our Trump is our dear friend, America is our strategic partner, and we can get things done, and they will not harm us or threaten us or insult us in a way they are doing. So the Americans take it for granted, our friendship, our desire to be seen as partnership between the strongest and the largest democracy, and they are heaping this kind of attitude. And like China, we have not been preparing for this incoming tariff war. It's very clear that we should have prepared. The government, they expected first of all that Biden would get elected. After he was withdrawn, then they thought Kamala Harris, and they didn't expect Trump to be so aggressive. They thought that we are friend and their focus will be on Canada, Mexico, China, and so on and so forth. But now it is all-out war, because we know that American balance of trade has gone haywire around the world. They are an importing nation, and trillions of dollars are going out of the country. And that's how Trump is lashing left and right to every country. He says took advantage of American generosity and markets, and we have to import. Weak need policy. This is not expected of a great country like India. We need to see the ground reality, the shifting power position, global power position of the United States, how we need to examine closely how China is reacting, how Canada is reacting, and how European Union is reacting, and how the Russians are reacting. We need to discuss with all of these people and then evaluate our own position, our own standing, our own capabilities, and what we can offer and what we can say no to the United States.
Hello and a warm welcome to HW News Network, your one-stop show, truth be told, for some engaging and thought-provoking conversations. Two days after Donald Trump's claim that India had committed to bring tariffs way down, government on Monday told a parliamentary panel that no commitments on this issue had been made to the US, and it has sought time until September to address the issue that is being repeatedly flagged by the American president. Now, I want to show you this story, which Times of India and now several other newspapers have done. This was the banner story which everyone saw in the morning newspapers, that no commitment to US on tariffs has been made, and the government has told this to a parliamentary panel. Now, coming as it does, there are lots of questions as to who is telling the truth. Is it Donald Trump, or is it the Indian government? Or is it a job where everything is being brushed aside? Time is being sought. This also could be a deliberate strategy. So how does one read? And amidst the market tizzy, what we have seen, $4 trillion being wiped out from the US market, how will India really insulate itself? And can we continue to be in a surrender mode before Donald Trump? Those are big, big questions. And we'll try and seek answers to all of this. Joining me now is international affairs expert and diplomat, Dr. Aftab Pasha, who joins us this evening on HW. So thank you so much for joining this evening. And my first question to you, of course, is this story which has bothered everyone, that no commitment to US on tariff, government to the parliamentary panel. Now, what does this mean? Mr. Sunil Bartwal, who's the Commerce Secretary, he apparently appeared before a parliamentary panel and he has said that we are seeking time till September. What does that mean? Seeking time till September, and he's also talking about some long term trade agreements which might not impact India negatively. How much are we to believe this?
Thank you for inviting me. You see, there are a couple of things. One is during the first Trump administration, the United States had talked about imposing tariff, but we somehow managed to evade that. It was not a very big issue, but they imposed tariff on China. And, the Chinese have learned from the first Trump administration and prepared themselves very well. In fact, if I can summarize in one word, their approach has been wait and see. And secondly, to apply more fiscal stimulus to mitigate the impending impact. Whereas in India, I think so far it is a knee-jerk reaction. The first one is, we received very coldly the 100% tariff threat on BRICS by the Trump administration, even before he took charge on 20th January. Secondly, the foreign minister went and apparently he also spoke about this. Then the Prime Minister himself went and signed a very lengthy statement wherein he agreed to import from oil, gas, which is expensive from the United States, to fodder and agricultural products and a whole range of other products which America had been trying to flood the Indian market. The third one was the rushing of Commerce Minister Mr. Piyush last weekend, and then reports about that indicating very negative outcome. And the fourth related was the Commerce Secretary was in New Delhi with the India Today conclave, threatening left and right India that you should import agricultural products, you must remove tariff. If you want to be a close partner of the United States, you must do this. Unsolicited advice he was giving on and on and on. More so, he was advising or threatening India not to import weapons from the Russians, our reliable partner for more than 70 years, which has not only stood thick and thin with us on a variety of issues, but also supplied key weapons when the Americans were supplying the same to the Pakistanis and our other enemies. So the statement made by the Commerce Secretary is nothing but it is just to cover up the panic in the Indian government as far as the tariffs and the American administration's aggressive approach. We can understand Canada, Mexico, China, and the European Union also. Our America is, of course, an important trading partner, but we can find ways and means for the exports we do, which is not a very big amount if we take the overall trade with countries we have. For example, jewelry, for example, textiles, consumer electronics, or a couple of other things, we can easily diversify to other countries and refuse to be, bullied by the United States on this issue. But what is appearing in the background is the maybe some secrets the Americans have about this government or our government's expected support if there is confrontation with China or on Pakistan, on various other issues. We don't know what is the linkage between this reaction to the Trump administration's hawkish strategy on BRICS, on India, and
Yeah, but
the
what
kind of insults they are heaping one upon the other. Like, for example, the Indians the Indians who were deported in shackled condition in military planes. Even a small country like Nepal and Colombia, they have challenged the United States. Why we are so meek in accepting this kind of a humiliating treatment? So all this raises very critical question. It is not just tariff or economic policy, but the national security issues and the way the mismanagement has occurred. It shows, a very negative approach. Sorry,
But
go ahead.
what should the Indian government be doing? Now, Piyush Goyal has come back. There are reports that he might go to Washington again, but there is no explanation from the government. And the three persons who could have given the explanation are Prime Minister, or it could be Mr. Jaishankar, or it could be Piyush Goyal. None of them have chosen to speak, despite the fact that the parliament has begun. There are lots of anxieties amongst the investors, amongst the people of the country, as to what is really happening between Donald Trump and Prime Minister Modi. But what the government has chosen is to send a commerce secretary to tell a parliamentary panel as to what has gone wrong, and to convince that parliamentary panel that, look, we've not committed to US. Now, is that a right position taken by the Indian government?
You see, I can summarize in two words. The government's contempt and disdain finally to the people of the country. The Prime Minister, instead of being here on the opening of the Parliament, he is abroad. He likes welcoming and grand show and honors and this and that. Whereas he should be in the Parliament to honor the members who have been elected and who want to hear the policy approach to one of the greatest threats from the United States to our economy and to our overall foreign policy, including BRICS for that matter. You see, you just compare what China has been doing. China, of course, is worried about the tariffs, but they have made it very clear that they won't back down in a humiliating way. They would love to negotiate a deal, but if that is not possible, they are prepared to say, so be it. So what? We will live with American tariff. And China has continuously rolled out fiscal measures to insulate its economy from any trade shocks. Have we thought any measures? Of course, in the budget, we have already announced a reduction of tariffs in anticipation of the American tariffs. So it shows there is no coherent approach, consistent approach on the part of the government to respond to the threat, because we were under the impression that America is our Trump is our dear friend, America is our strategic partner, and we can get things done, and they will not harm us or threaten us or insult us in a way they are doing. So the Americans take it for granted, our friendship, our desire to be seen as partnership between the strongest and the largest democracy, and they are heaping this kind of attitude, and like China, we have not been preparing for this incoming tariff war. It's very clear that we should have prepared, because in the election campaign since October, he has been threatening tariffs. But what have we done? Is there any stimulus package? Is there any attempt to call meeting the global South partners where we can ask them, can you please buy these items which are under threat from the American tariffs?
Pasha, the Commerce Secretary who went to brief the parliamentary panel has said that we have sought time till September. Now it's March right now, so they need about 5, 6 months from now on to do what? Are they planning on some stimulus package or are they planning to negotiate? Because Mr. Sunil Bartawal, the Commerce Secretary, has also said that India may not be impacted with this reciprocal tariff. Now, what does it mean that India will not remain affected, or are we to believe that he's painting castles in the air? How does one understand this?
You see, again, if I can compare with China, they have prepared themselves well in advance. Why do we need up to September? We knew what was coming. The Commerce Secretary was sleeping. He is in a deep slumber. He has just woken up. He has been ordered to go to Washington, and what did he achieve? What is the outcome? We don't know anything about it. Whether he gained something in the negotiation, whether he had gone on sightseeing or just to check the weather, or he stayed in the hotel and came back without any productive meetings or achievements from there. You see, there is complete blackout because there is panic in the government. The government, they expected, first of all, that Biden would get elected. After he was withdrawn, then they thought Kamala Harris. And, they didn't expect Trump to be so aggressive. They thought that we are friend and their focus will be on Canada, Mexico, China, and so on and so forth. But now it is all out war because we know that American balance of trade has gone haywire around the world. They are an importing nation and trillions of dollars are going out of the country. And that's how Trump is lashing left and right to every country. He says took advantage of American generosity and markets, and we have to import.
In fact, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, just 3-4 days back, she said that yes, India will be impacted. Now, I want to read this portion where Mr. Sunil Bartawal, who is the Commerce Secretary, has said what? I want to read it out for the viewers. He has said that India and the US are working towards a mutually beneficial bilateral trade agreement, focusing on long-term trade cooperation instead of merely seeking immediate tariff adjustments. Now, everybody is worried as to what is going to happen immediately. But here we have a Commerce Secretary who's saying that we are talking about a long-term cooperation. Now, what does this mean now?
This is just talk in the air. America is not going to relent on tariffs, which is going to impact the budget. Every day exporters have to live with this tariffs. The economy has to bear the brunt of this tariff, and if the Americans impose reciprocal tariff of more than 100%, who will buy our products? What will happen to our manufacturers? Orders are placed well in advance, more than 2 months, 3 months in advance. It is not that today you order and next day, like in Amazon, it will come to your doorstep. So in that way, you see, the government should have prepared, taken into confidence soon after the whole issue was raised by Trump in September, October itself, that Trump is very serious about this tariff. See, moreover, India should have been preparing to reduce mutual trade because we need to decouple. We don't want to become vulnerable to one country or group of countries, which has become a trend that European Union can discipline, America can discipline, or things like that. So the mutual dependency has to be leveraged and horizontally spread over any country, and we have to prepare strategies to blunt the impact of the tariffs.
Right. No, but even this Commerce Secretary, now he says that India's interests will be safeguarded in any deal and that the government can react only after the US takes some steps. Now, this is what? I mean, is India trying to take a position where it is going to wait for the storm to demolish our huts and then India will take action. Now, what is this kind of a reaction coming from the Commerce Secretary? This is a very lame excuse, and it clearly goes to show that India is just not prepared and they are in a surrender mode. What would you really say to this? And I'm reading it out once again. Commerce Secretary Sunil Bartawal tells the Standing Committee on External Affairs that India's interests will be safeguarded in any deal, and that the government can react only after the US takes some steps. Now, I want to know your reaction, sir, on this.
See, it shows sheer incompetence. You see, they are prepared to do the damage and we are willing to undergo the damage. You see, what is this kind of policy? I can't understand. We have to prepare in advance. What are the areas where we can withstand, where we can diversify, where we can negotiate from a position of strength? We are positioning ourselves as weaklings. That America is our only market. America is not the only market. It is a declining market. The world is much bigger and larger and growing. In other parts of the world, if America doesn't want to import and they want to punish us, so be it. Like the Chinese are doing. China is a world exporter.
No, but Mr. Pasha, I believe that our fundamentals of the economy, as in the India's fundamentals of economy, are much stronger than what America's is. So what are we worried for? Why are we not confident that, okay, if India is not by our side, we still can sail through? And Commerce Secretary also has said that we are not taking a hard position like Canada, Mexico, or China. He mentioned this as well when he was speaking to the parliamentary channel. Now,
yeah, I agree. You see, our economic fundamentals are much stronger, and America needs a big market like India. And, we are growing at a faster rate than any other country, including China. But you see, again, I will repeat here, there are geopolitical and geostrategic issues involved here. It's a trade-off. It is not just tariffs and exports, but our association through Quad with America has now taken a new dimension. It is slowly assuming a military dimension, a strategic dimension, and geopolitical dimension because of the China factor, because of American compulsion that the war in Ukraine is over. Soviet Union, Russia is now on our side, and we will smash this strategic partnership between China and Russia. And now with the Indian help, we will tackle and prepared for showdown with China. That is the whole strategy. And we seem to be getting trapped into this American strategy of isolating these two countries, China and Russia, and now gradually inching towards American strategy in the name of Indo-Pacific strategy and luring us into anti-China policy. So, you see, China is our neighbor. We have to live with it. We cannot get induced by the United States on this issue. Policymakers have to deal with this. Just as America cannot change its neighbors, Canada and Mexico, we cannot change our neighbor, China. We have to live with that. The Chinese react the way they react, how we get closer with the United States, and what are the strategic implications on their development strategy, BRI, and various other things, So we have to be very careful. So this trade-off between geopolitics, geostrategy is the much larger compulsion which India is now saddled with. So these conflicting pulls and pressures in our policy is reflective of the confusion. We are not sure about Russian help. We are not sure what China would do to us, how China would manipulate Pakistan against our strategy. So in the process, we seem to be giving much more leeway to the United States, which it will definitely use and manipulate against our interests. So this tariff is just a footnote in the larger picture, big picture, which is emerging, and that is the changing international order because of Ukraine, Russia, America, China, and the seismic transfer change which is taking place, that is the decline of the American empire, and they want to retain that number one position at any cost. And India is being roped into that strategy. That's how I see the developments.
Right. So you are saying that basically India is being used in an ugly trade war or a tariff war, if we may call it. But towards the end, and that's my last question to you, Professor Pasha, that how would you describe India's position towards the end as a concluding remark? The kind of positioning which India is taking, no one is sure of what Donald Trump is going to do. But what we are sure of is that India is not going to raise its head against Donald Trump. The very fact that you look at this story and we are ready to go for a long-term negotiation rather than immediately taking the bull by the horns. So what would you really say towards the end? I think, yes, Professor Pasha is back. So towards the end, your concluding remark on the kind of position which India has taken, how would you really describe this uncertainty on the part of India?
You see, this is a weak need policy. This is not expected of a great country like India. We need to see the ground reality, the shifting power position, global power position of the United States, how we need to examine closely how China is reacting, how Canada is reacting, and how European Union is reacting, and how the Russians are reacting. We need to discuss with all of these people and then evaluate our own position, our own standing, our own capabilities, and what we can offer and what we can say no to the United States. You see, the international order is changing very fast, including the...
But India, it seems, is caught in a time warp. They don't want to say no to United States.
That is the real problem. That's the real problem. It shows the weakness of this government. What is it that you expect from the United States, that you are afraid of? What do you expect? American is not going to give much more than what they have. It is a transactional government. You pay and you get. Otherwise, you will be booted out. You are nowhere in the reckoning of the American administration. They have better and bigger things to take care of. So in that way, we are, I think, time at the crossroads in the international emerging order. We need to buck up and say what needs to be said and accordingly behave in that way.
Right. So it's highly unfortunate, but that's what the reality is. And especially when you read this story, and the morning when I read this story, I actually felt gloomy as to what kind of a position which India is trying to take. Why can't we raise our head? Why can't we say no to Donald Trump? These are all million-dollar questions. And currently, as they seem, they look like in a realm of speculation. I'll have to end it here. Thank you so much, Professor.
No, I just want to end. You see, the Trump administration itself is trying to figure out how to define their political, economic strategy and what is right, the time frame. They are themselves in a flux. So we need not hurry and respond to each and every move of the United States. We have to buy time like the Chinese, wait and watch, and then prepare a considered reply instead of knee-jerk reaction.
Right. Okay, thanks so much, sir, for joining on HW this evening. Thank you.